What's up guys, my name is John and you're watching Old Stuff is Cool. Today I'm behind the camera because I've got a large stack of comics to share with you today. This is a dollar comic haul from Whatnot seller Harvey Comics. So we can jump right into it. You can already see the first two comics from this haul. It is issue 240 with a cover by Bud Budiansky, and I'm more familiar with him through Transformers, and now it's funny to see his other works throughout the Marvel Universe. Also, we've issued 253. This cover is by John Byrne, and it's a story involving, I believe, the passing of the torch from Union Jack, from one character to another, as well as the return of Baron Blood, who I think is a Nazi vampire. He's definitely a vampire of some kind. So those are the first two books. And then we have the next two. We've got New Avengers issue 18, part of that Jonathan Hickman run that I'm trying to complete, as well as Mark Spector Moon Knight issue number 16. Mark Spector Moon Knight is a book that I'm picking up currently whenever I find it for $1 or $2, but not entirely sure if it's something I'm gonna go for the whole run. I was really concentrated on the final 5 issues that featured the beginning of Stephen Platt's run on it. I know Moon Knight's a bit of a niche character, but sometimes that means you can find some good deals on his less popular titles. And then last up for this kind of miscellaneous bunch is Star Masters issue number 1. I am not at all familiar with this story, but I do know it's written by Mark Grunwald. I think it's it might be one of his last works. He did a lot with Quasar, which I love. I'm a big fan of Silver Surfer and Beta Ray Bill as well. So these three together, I had to check it out. And I think it's a 4-issue miniseries. We'll see. I'll keep my eye out, especially if they are in the dollar boxes. So that's it for kind of the little hodgepodge of characters. I also got to add to my X-Men run, and I'm collecting a few issues here from the point where I kind of left off around the time where it's like an Onslaught, Heroes Reborn, and we have issue 59. We got a weird beardless Hercules from the 90s. Was not a big fan of that design. We also have issue number 60 here. The cover artist on issue 59 is Art Bear, who I am quite familiar with for his inking of a lot of the popular artists of the time. I think he inked Andy Kubert, Jim Lee, and other X-Men artists. Kind of cool to see that he got this cover for this issue. And then issue 60 is the artist I'm less familiar with, Scott Clark. But this design of Storm is kind of notable. This is the design that I believe Joe Madureira gave her, so kind of that those two long bangs are very reminiscent of manga, in particular Ghost in the Shell, which I know Madureira was a big fan of. So kind of cool little snapshot of that time. And then the other two X-Men issues I got were issue 63 and Uncanny X-Men, the flashback issue. Issue 63 has a cover by Carlos Pacheco, and that's another thing about the X-Men issues I'm picking up. There's only a small handful with covers by Carlos Pacheco, and I want to snag them because they're usually not too expensive, so not totally unheard of to find in the dollar books. So those are the X-Men. Oh, I should mention the flashback issues. I think they're normally labeled as like the -1. Yeah, it's -1 here. And had to laugh to myself in that other collectors, in putting these in sequential order, this would technically go before the original X-Men #1 by Stan and Jack. And I don't know. I don't know if I would put this way up in the front or chronologically. Probably way up front, just to keep things simple. The next batch of books I got is, of course, my Daredevil run. I got a bunch of great dollar issues here. I'll try to speed things up a little bit. Issue 242 and issue 245. 245 was mentioned to be low grade. It's got more dings and maybe a little bit of water damage, or it's just very wrinkly. If I took it out of the bag, probably easier to see. I really like this cover though. It's guest starring Black Panther. The cover's by Al Milgrom, who I've been finding a bunch of covers from Spectacular Spider-Man that I really like. So I might wind up trying to get an upgrade for this issue. We'll see. We'll see. At least I have something right now for my Daredevil run. We also have issue 249 and issue 251. A great cover featuring Wolverine here by Rick Leonardi. And then 251, I believe the issue between these two, 250, is the start of John Romita Jr.'s run. And Ann Nocenti is the writer during this time. So two great covers. I particularly like this Daredevil Wolverine fight here. Just give a bit of close-up. Hopefully with my lighting, it's not too blown out. And while I know modern readers might be a little more divided on John Romita Jr., I do quite like his time. It adds, especially to the more abstract stuff when Mephisto and his son Blackheart come later on. I think his pencils match really well. And then the final two Daredevil comics I got were for a little bit later in the run, 326 and 327. And I quite like, I think Scott McDaniel is the penciler for both these covers. And there's something a little abstract, maybe it's the way it's inked. Either way, the overall look of it, I really dig it. And D.G. Chichester is the writer during this time as well. You can see it's the black armor Daredevil, which as 90s and edgelordy as it might be, I quite like the black armor design. It's definitely still better than the original yellow-brown costume that Daredevil had. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. Are you guys fans of like this kind of style or of Scott McDaniel's work? Because I find myself gravitating towards his Daredevil covers during this era. But yeah, that's it for Daredevil. And I got a lot of great run fillers, just books I've been on the hunt for, filling in gaps I have. And the next series rather, is Spider-Man 2099. Issues 18 and 19. You just saw Rick Leonardi's work over in Daredevil, and as you can imagine, it worked really well for the agile Spider-Man 2099, or any kind of spider-type character. Really good match. So 18 and 19, as well as issue number 20 and 22. And I have to say, I was really lucky. I mean, this is a collection. It's not all from one show, but I do remember a bunch of these Spidey 29 issues showing up. I just had tuned in and was very lucky just to claim the bulk of these that I've been looking for. Because we also have issues 23 and 28. And I should mention that Peter David is the writer for this series. And thanks to the Miles Morales Spider-Man movies, people nowadays are more familiar with Miguel O'Hara, the man behind the Spider Mask. Last up is issue 31 here. No idea who this Bat opponent is. He's got a mace for a hand. He's on a motorcycle. Definitely a product of the times. Yeah, so some nice Spidey 2999 issues. What happened in picking these up, though, is now I have a few more gaps, because originally I was just trying to fill in, I think I had a gap between issues 18 through 20, and then these further ones came up, so I'm just going to keep getting these. If these show up in the dollar box, I have no qualms about adding more Spidey 2099. And wouldn't you know it, another series that I didn't know if I was going to continue with, but Fantastic Four. A lot of these are from Walter Simonson's tenure on the book. So we issued 241, and got Galactus in the back here, and a great Doom looming over cover here with issue number 350. This one, I believe Ben Grimm comes back. Prior to that, Sheriff Ventura, which I think she went by a few names, including Ms. Marvel, I think She-Thing for a bit, but Ben comes back, I think, makes his triumphant return in 350. Also, issues 351 and 352. This one, a great cover by Mark Bagley. I didn't know he did any Fantastic Four covers, but I think before his main stint on Amazing Spider-Man, and typical of any publisher, they try their younger artists, newer artists on a few fill-in assignments, a few different titles before settling on their main assignment. Either way, really cool. Features Cubic, so there's some cosmic stuff going around here, and I love me some cosmic stuff. We also have issue 362, and these, I think this cover and the next few covers are by Paul Ryan. And you know what? Like, it was around this era that I read my first ever Fantastic Four comic. I think writing duties were by Tom DeFalco. And a cool Spidey makes a little appearance here with Human Torch. And then last but not least, issue 363. The villain here is named Oculus, which, no relation to the virtual reality gaming system. But good old Oculus here is Scott Franklin in his grasp. Yeah, and sure enough, this is from 1992. Paul Ryan doing the cover here. So a few Fantastic Four issues. Happy to continue my journey collecting that series. Also, we've got some X Factor. Issue 9 and issue 11. Love that cover on 11. Just so dynamic with the optic blasts, explosions going on everywhere. And I didn't catch this at first, but issue number 9 is a cover by Mark Silvestri. And it does feature Freedom Force, which I think Jen Carpenter, is that her name? This Spider-Woman was part of Freedom Force at the time. I think she was unwittingly or tricked to be part of the team, because we know she's a hero. She came from the first Secret Wars, eventually joined the West Coast Avengers. But it is kind of funny seeing her fight the X-Men, X Factor here. So issues 9 and 11, filling in some gaps I had from the early run of X Factor. We also have issue 12 and 106. Quite the jump there. You can see good old Boom Boom is here on X Factor 12. And for fans of that character, maybe her tenure on X-Force, she is back in the spotlight, as it were, with the current Inglorious X-Force series with Cable, and kind of an interesting mix of characters. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm definitely intrigued. Meanwhile, with issue 106, this is part of the Phalanx Covenant. There are a few issues you'll see here that I was looking just to kind of fill out the box to be able to cash out and maximize on the shipping, which I'm always talking about with online orders. Yeah, it's got a gimmick cover, Phalanx Covenant. I enjoyed that storyline enough. We got, I guess, kind of a maybe possessed Douglock there, probably taken over by the Phalanx. Forge on the cover. This is after shortly after the Peter David run, so I did not read too much of it, but I'm not sure. X Factor might be something I go for a complete run or not. We'll see. But yeah, here's a little closer look at Boom Boom again. Alright, behind the scenes, I had to take a little break, so we're coming back a few hours later with this haul. We've got some DC now, Detective Comics Batman. And here we have me finishing out the Night Quest Crusade portion when Azrael, John Paul Valley became Batman, and that whole story. I've been just grabbing these because they're usually the dollar boxes. And so these next few issues, they're all written by Chuck Dixon, and the covers are by Kelly Jones, who I definitely associate with 90s Batman. So here's issues 669 and 672. We also have issues 676 and 677. Got some Nightwing action there. So these four complete the rest of the issues I needed for Detective Comics. And I know I don't get a lot of DC, but Batman stays in the mix. Following that, we have this title from Image Comics, and that is Pitt. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Pitt. He's not really, in the cultural zeitgeist right now. I was drawn to this series because in my collecting of the Hulk, especially towards the end of the year, I got a bunch of issues from the Dale Keown penciled part of that series. got reacquainted, fell back in love with it, and had to pick up when these showed up on the show. His creator-owned Project Pit. I used to own the first 3 issues back in the 90s. They did not survive one of my purges, so here they are again. Issue number half, which is first time owning. Issue number 1. And you know, you can probably tell, Pit is very kind of Hulk adjacent, as it were. He's a big, large character. And I'm looking forward to reread these because I don't remember the story itself. Here you have issue 2 and issue 3. One other interesting note is that the inker on these books are Scott Williams, who I mostly associate with inking Jim Lee's work, especially his current work on Batman. One last issue over here. This was a little rougher around the edges. You might be able to see some of the scuff marks on issue 5. So yeah, issue half, 1, 2, 3, and 5. Unfortunately, issue 4 did not pop up on the show, but I'll definitely be keeping my eye out for this series in future dollar bin diving. And then these last set of books, these were actually from a show right before Christmas hit. And Megan, who runs the dollar shows, will oftentimes throw in some special books for the regulars, books that normally would not be $1, but kind of just little treats. I mean, you know, maybe some incentives to watch throughout the show. And so I picked up some I think, Bronze Age goodies that I might not normally be collecting, but I really couldn't pass up on. And part of it is it's a race to claim these as they go up on the wall because everyone's after them. So we've got Spider-Woman, issue 46, my first Spider-Woman comic. And the cover is by Steve Leialoha, who I know did a lot of work. I'm not super familiar with his work per se. I just know his name is mentioned a lot with other books in this era. Also have Incredible Hulk issue 224, and that's a cover by Ernie Chan. Another issue of the Hulk, issue number 230, and that's a cover by Ron Wilson. And then I've got some Copper Age Batman, which is new to the collection. I'm really confused why this era says The New Adventures. I'd love to look into the history of it. Maybe was it the premiere of the first Batman movie or some sort of new initiative? If you know more about Batman comic history, I'd love to hear what this whole New Adventures era was. But with issue 409, we have a cover by Ed Hannigan, and this features the origin of Jason Todd. I think what's notable is this is the first, I want to say, post-crisis redoing of the origin of Jason Todd. Something with unique to the continuity of DC characters. Following that with Batman 412, featuring the first appearance of the Mime, who, this is my first time learning of the Mime, but definitely a creepy looking character there. This cover is by Kevin Nolan. And then the last book we have in the haul is Batman issue 413. This cover is also by Ed Hannigan, and I thought it looked a little familiar, so upon closer inspection and a little research, turns out that the inker is Walter Simonson, who I love from Thor and other works. We saw some of his stuff with Fantastic Four earlier, so it's kind of cool to see his style and how it meshes with other pencilers. But yeah, it's great to catch a few of these books. There were other Hulk issues, there are a few other Batman issues, but these were nice little, icing on top of the cake, as it were. But that's the dollar haul for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, this little behind the camera point of view. Again, I'm slowing down on the dollar show hauls. For new comic book stores, if I have time, I'm still going to flip through the dollar bins. So that's certainly not ending. But I used to, for a little bit there, I got these packages from Harvey Comics monthly when I was kind of at the peak of accruing all of these. And I really do want to focus on, more quality over quantity. But that doesn't mean I don't miss and love the treasure hunting of dollar bin diving. So yeah, that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Take care.